Even when I started working digital, I didn't have my own laptop, I didn't have my own computer.
Can you tell us about Saint Art 700?
People were like, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't give me your raw file. I was like, what? Why not? It was a means to ends for me. It was a means to ends because it was where I would get paid.
Today on the show, we're joined by a visual storyteller whose lens captures far more than just light. It captures culture, identity, and the quiet complexities of what it means to be Caribbean and human.
Wow.
Today we have Marlon James.
Yeah.
Give thanks, give thanks.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being early.
That's a nice yeah, you know.
But you were on time in your head.
Yeah, in my head, but it's one of those weird things I always tell people. Like, I was watching, I know people don't watch Marvel as much anymore, but when they had that, I think it was the Falcon show with Anthony Mackie, he had a line in his show where he says, you either be early or late when it comes to a meeting. You have to choose one.
Yeah.
You know? So you can't be on time all the time. You have to always be either a little bit early or you're going to be
Are you
late.
sure that's what that's from?
Huh?
Are you sure that's what that's from?
I'm
I
not-
think about everybody. It's Chris. His dad told him, you're either on time or you're late.
Well,
this is when they had to go to work. I think it's.
Oh, and you like up real early.
Yeah, they get up like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Well,
or
I
4
remember
o'clock.
this particular one from Anthony. You can correct
It
me.
sounds
if
so
I'm-
familiar. I thought about that one, but I was like,
Hey,
I don't know.
that doesn't say they couldn't reuse it, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying
I didn't
that's
know.
where I heard it. He was
I
talking.
didn't watch that show.
Right, see?
yeah.
I was kind of watching when I had Disney Plus. Don't have
Yeah.
it anymore. Sorry.
Neither do I. I had it.
I just beginning, I was like, all right, you're not really holding me with any shows. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress.
Are you big on TV?
I grew up in the 80s, so I kind of grew up on TV. That was my friend for most of my time when I couldn't go outside to play with my friends. That's what I would, entertain myself with. My parents didn't enjoy it. They prefer me reading books, but, I'm a product of that generation in some sort of way.
I don't know. I looked up.
What?
I looked up when was color TV introduced,
Don't worry,
and I was like, oh, I don't know why I thought.
no, I'm not
This
that
is a
old.
relative.
No. I both had a black and white and a color TV growing up. Don't get me wrong.
In where?
Yeah, the black and white on a color TV.
No, I think he said in somewhere.
Oh, when I was home in Jamaica,
Oh, okay,
I'm a
okay.
Jamaican. So
Yeah.
growing up as a child, I had both a black and white and color
Color
TV.
TV.
So I first knew it by black and white, and then eventually
Right.
we did get a color TV.
Okay.
Right.
So
Were you like, wow, this is what everything's supposed to look like?
no, because
Or were
you had friends and people who had color TV, so it wasn't like wow. It's just that we didn't have it at that particular time.
Okay. But the first time you saw it, were you like,
No, again, it wasn't wow to me.
Okay.
I was more wowed about the black and white TV because it was like that was my personal TV. Like as a kid growing up, if you had a TV for your room, that's what we got. We had this little
Okay.
black and white TV, but the main TV for the house was a color TV. So it was just
Okay.
my personal like room TV, if you want to call it.
Oh,
And how
you're-
we had it too was
You're
like
flexing on everybody. I have.
Oh, come on.
My room.
Come
That's
check
the
me.
shit.
listen, it was
why you outside in the living room? I have TV in my room.
No, but it was one of those weird TVs because, all right, you know what the old MacBook looked like?
Yeah.
The big back one?
Well, yeah. So how this one was kind of like a foldable one, right? So literally, it would be closed down when it was off, and when you wanted, you flip it open. It had a hinge, and you turn it on, and it was a black and white TV. So that's what I used to watch as a little TV. It was just something in your bedroom to, But anyway, that was not until I was like probably 9, 10 years old I got that. So it's not like I was
Yeah.
flexing on anyone. Most of my friends at that age, they had like bigger color TVs and they had like Nintendos and what have you.
Okay.
I had the basic stuff, so I wasn't like no big time kid or whatever. So
Yeah.
Right.
I guess the people that don't know, could you, I guess, do a brief intro what you do? Because I know you to do photography. I don't know if there's other things.
all right, so Marlon James, born in 1980 in Jamaica. I went to Edna College in 98. I did my major discipline in sculpture. So I actually graduated the school in a BFA in sculpture. But while I was in school, I did an elective in photography. So
Right.
my final year project was a kind of a mismatch with the both of them. I did both a sculptural and a photography based
Yeah.
final exhibition. And when I finished school, I started work for like one of our, region's top photographer in Jamaica, and I learned a lot about product photography and lighting from him. While I was working with him, the school needed a photography technician for the photography department at Edna Malley, and so I was hired. So from like 2003 to 2013, I was a photography technician. So my job when I was at the photography department was to maintain the darkroom equipment. So we were probably the only institution in Jamaica that had the largest darkroom. So we had like 10 or 11 dark rooms that did mainly black and white. Some of them were allowed to do color, but we didn't have the color chemicals or the paper. So we taught everybody how to shoot and edit. Or not edit, sorry, going to the modern age.
I think you can edit though. I feel like you can edit film.
Yeah, editing is for me. I think edit now differently because to me editing is cropping.
Yeah.
You know how you crop the image or where you zoom in and so forth. You know, edit now that's the same thing as like
Yeah, you manipulate.
how you manipulate the image. And
this editing is just physical.
Physical, yeah. You're just like, I don't need so much. Let me crop in that. You know, the editing part would probably know is when you think about like if you use filters for your exposing. So like you actually could put different filters to give more contrast or less contrast in your image. And then the other things that you do to editing would be like how you guys have what I call it burning. Right.
Yeah.
What I used to do for burning would be that I would find out the area that I want to burn. I would project it onto like my easel, and then I'd get a piece of paper or cardboard and draw out that shape, cut it out, get a thin piece of wire, tape on the back of it, and then when I'm re-exposing and I want to burn in a part that might be burnt out by a couple more seconds, I then cover it with that. But I wouldn't just hold it there. I'd kind of have to shake it to make it vibrate, because if you just left it there, you give that very hard shadow.
Yeah,
so to give that slightly blurred, softer,
right.
so you kind of move your hand gently as you expose it over. So that would be my technique of burning. And when I have to dodge it, the same thing.
Yeah.
I have to cut out the area that I want to dodge so I can burn the other areas, and then the same thing, slightly moving your hand just so you can burn. So all the things that everybody accustomed in like the digital world of photography,
Yeah.
I did all of that
Yeah,
on
the
film.
physically.
Yeah.
Like roughly, like how long would a picture take to develop?
Ooh, from start like to the final print, or
Like,
just
all right, here's the roll. Starts.
all right, from the roll to actually doing a print, that could take literally a whole day.
Right.
Literally, I remember
This is just one print.
one print.
Right.
Now here's
Yeah, it also goes through chemicals, it has to dry, and then
right. So what would happen is that I would get into the dark room probably like say 6 o'clock in the morning, right? I'd go into the loading room. That's where you actually have to put your film into a canister. I use a metal canister. And then after putting the metal canister, you would actually go through the chemical process of putting your developer, your stop, your fixer, and then you wash off the chemicals. Then after washing the chemicals, then you hang your negative in the drying cabinet, and that's where you have to wait. You have to wait until it's fully dry, and that, depending on how humid the day is, it could take the full day. So you might just be chilling for the whole day, or you can find other things to do, right?
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're talking about literally from start to finish, it can take you a whole day. So once it's finished dry, you would cut it up in, I used to cut up in strips of 6 to make a contact sheet. So that'll be proof sheets, so you can look and see what you captured, and then you can then use your loop. You know, like back in the days, used to people, I used all of that. So you loop, and then you can use your highlighters to mark where you want, and then when you figure out what image you want, then you can go about making your print. And then that again would be a whole process, because you have to find about the proper exposure of light to the photographic paper. And then how you did that was that you'd have an actual aperture on your enlarger, so you'd have to dictate how much light you want to pass through. So if you want to get more, I guess what I'd say, more detail or less contrast, you'd actually turn down the light to the smallest opening. So your f-stop would be like f8, f11. You know, it's very, very thin light. And that would now allow you to now have your, where you would do a test strip. So you'd actually have like a small piece of paper, and you have a piece of cardboard, and what you do is you expose it for...
Is it that the paper is light sensitive?
Yeah, the paper.
Because I always, like, I understood the filming, like the development process.
Right.
Up until the prints. Because I was like, everybody didn't have a scanner to just scan the film and then put it into a computer.
No.
I was like, that don't make any sense. This was before like that.
Right, so what you have to do...
How do you get the picture onto the paper? So I'm guessing it's because when you hold it up to the light now, it blocks out light a certain amount, and then.
Well, your negative does that, right? So you have to think about the negative as in the opposite.
Because I understand, I think in a printing sense, like when you're making t-shirts, you have your negative.
Right.
Or is it positive in that sense?
Well, the negative is
I
your
can't remember
positive.
which
So
one.
like when people say black on a negative, that means it's actually white.
White.
And where it's
It's the
clear,
opposite.
that is black. That's going
Right.
to be the dark shadow areas.
Yeah.
So if you hold a negative
So I
and you
think
still
about
have
it
to...
in a printing sense where when you put it on the screen and you pull the ink
Yeah.
through. I think about that being the light, but I never understood how do you get that on the paper.
Well, the paper itself is light sensitive paper. And
Okay.
that is why when you're in the dark room, it had to be that red or orange light filter, right? It wasn't that the actual light bulb was orange or red, even though you could, but it was that you actually over your actual light
Yeah,
strip,
but a filter.
a filter red. And it was a particular red, you know, it was like a very, what I call like a fire engine red. You know,
Yeah.
so that's why you know where people talk
I
about
know
the
the
red light special kind of thing.
Yeah.
That red. You know, so that was the only light that your paper was saved that it wouldn't expose your paper and turn into black, right? So then, as I said, when you were ready, you'd have your enlarger, you had a paper below here, and then you'd use a cardboard to kind of block off, so you could take increments of, well, you could either do 1, or I prefer using 5, increments of 5, so you expose the paper to increments of 5, so you go 5, 10, 15, 20. You put it in the developer, and you try to leave it in the developer for at least 1 minute. Minimum 1 minute, the longest you want it in the developer is for 3 minutes.
What
Then you
happens
move.
if you go beyond?
It's not that nothing wrong with going beyond, but it will just kind of exhaust your developer if you leave it longer than 3 minutes. So
Yeah.
they usually say your developing time should range between 1 minute to 3 minutes. So your image should start to be appearing on the photographic paper between that time.
Okay.
But minimum time should be a minute. You don't want it to come up too fast. If it comes up too fast, then it's going to probably be too flat. So you want at least a minute. That's when you watch movies and you see people kind of lifting the tray up and down, and you see it start to like magically appear.
Yeah.
That's what you kind of want. You want to slowly take its time and reveal. You get the shadows and the highlights and so forth.
Right.
So then with the strip, as I say, you have the 5, 10, 15, 20, and you'll see roughly based on those increment times, what is probably roughly the right exposure to expose the light from what aperture you have onto that paper.
Right.
So if it's 15 seconds, then you expose light for 15 seconds. But probably when you go outside now, because again, this is why you have to always take longer. When you go outside and you look on the image, it will look much darker or lighter than what you saw inside the developing room.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I need more light. Oh, I need to dial it back. Okay.
Right. So you had to wait. And then also the funny thing was after a while I learned that when the paper dried, it would actually get 5% darker depending if it was fiber-based paper versus RC paper. RC stands for resin coated, which was a typical photographic paper that most people use.
Yeah.
So you'd actually have to really wait until it dries to make sure you know how
it would
dark
look
the blacks would actually be, because it might look dark when it's wet and oh, it's really dark, so it's perfect. But when it dries, like, oh, it's actually, it actually needs a little bit, like a 3 seconds longer or 5 seconds longer to get a proper kind of contrast that you want. You want your blacks to be rich enough, but you don't want it to be too rich where your shadows are lost. Like you have no details in shadows. So it's that balance you're trying to capture anything. So literally, it would take a day just to get one print that you would say, okay, I can show this to
so
somebody.
that's why you really have to be like, this is the one that I really want to show off.
Yeah, so you have to work on
It
it.
took me so long. That asked me to make 20.
Oh no, yeah, because I remember when people would come into the photography department, you'd probably see like 10 or 5 different prints of the same image, and people are like, I don't get it. And then you tell them like, okay, well, this one's the first one, and you can tell because the second one had this darker and that, and they were like, oh shit, yeah. And then you could look like step by step, like, yeah, I could see where you darkened that part, and till you find out the final piece where like,
Okay,
put everything together.
Yeah.
And again, that's why Photoshop was so wonderful for you. For most people, it's like, oh, you can make all the errors you want, and like you don't have to
undo.
worry, like, you can undo. Command Z. Like, what? I had to be like, all right, another pack of paper I need to buy.
Well, how do you get because the film is not that big. How do you get it to a print like we said, about this size?
Yeah,
Well,
'cause
again,
it's just another one.
What is
Well,
it?
again, it's called an enlarger, right? So
Gotcha.
that's the whole thing. Like, the further you move the lens from the base,
It's bigger. Okay.
bigger. So the closer it is, the smaller it is. As you move it further, it enlarges the picture. So you could have a print as small as passport if you want. I could print as large as a 16 by 20. You just have to have the easel space.
And
Because
the
you
height?
won't- Huh?
And the height.
Well, the height was not a problem. Usually just
because I guess the lens could. Okay.
Oh, okay.
so yeah, you have enough distance that you could get it. And then when we wanted to make like poster like 20 by 24, the enlargers could actually tilt on the side. So when we wanted to do, I remember the one time that we tried to do it was a 30 by 36. So what we had to do was that we had a black wall over there, and then we basically saw where the area in which the print would land. And what we had to do was that we had to put the photographic paper on the wall, tilt the enlarger on its side so we know instead of being like pointing downwards, you know, to shoot across on the wall, and that's how we print those larger prints. And then of course you have to find a big enough development tray to do the whole thing, and so it would be fun days of actually
How do you get a tray for that size print?
You buy it. Well, luckily, as I said, how it is was where was Edna Manley College was an art school, so they had actually bought, so they had those things in storage.
So you knew how much you could go up to beforehand.
Beforehand, yeah. So we just had to buy it.
You just had the paper and you're just like,
oh no, you literally,
no,
you just knew you had a tray like this can hold a yeah man, okay, cool. And you just buy the paper and we use paper like Agfa. I think many people would know that brand. Agfa was what I grew up using as film for both black and white and color before I went on to Kodak. So that was a different brand of color film that I used to use as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Then a lot there.
Yeah, as I said, it was kind of interesting being like that tail end of a Gen X baby. You know, I literally went from analog into digital. You know, and it was a quick transition for me because literally when I finished school in 2003, everybody was going digital. And I just literally, a few years before I bought my medium format camera, saying, oh, I'm no professional camera because I have a medium format. And like, yeah, we don't need that anymore. We want digital because that's quicker for us to process. We don't have to wait a 2 or a 1 week to have your negatives developed so we can see if we got the shot or not. Yeah. Digital was like, we could, and then what would happen is that a lot of photographers who had the money, they wouldn't necessarily get rid of the film cameras, they'd just buy digital backs, which was like almost $20,000 US at the time. And I was like, I ain't got that money. So it's either you bought a camera with like the 35mm like DSLRs, or at the time for me, I used to pass up work, or I had to borrow from a friend, like rent from a friend.
You said pass on what?
Pass on work.
Pass on work?
Pass on work.
Pass on work. Got you. So you said something.
Pass on work. Yeah. I had to pass on the work.
Yeah.
So I just, because I didn't have a digital camera. I had film camera, and people were like, yeah, you have a digital camera? Like, no. So a lot of work in the beginning, I missed out on because of that, which I felt bad about, but at the same time, in the long run,
can't forget about it.
Yeah, because I got opportunities in the past, like afterwards. I mean, I got a chance to shoot for Red Bull. I got a chance to shoot for Red Stripe. So, and that was when I just started to get more access to a digital camera. And it paid off because I think for me, because I was shooting on film, everything had to be almost perfect in camera. You couldn't rely on like, I have X amount of frame. Yeah. For me, it was like, I need to make sure whatever it was exposure-wise was perfect.
Right.
Or close to perfect. Because even like when I used to work for Red Bull, you had a very quick turnover time. So I would do a job, the job would finish 10 o'clock Jamaican, but because Australia was some like 5 or 6 hours ahead, they wanted images by 8 o'clock in the morning. So then you had to edit those pictures you took all day, taking for them, and send it within 2 hours. So you had no time to be like, oh, let me compose this and, composite this and whatever.
In terms of like, you were shooting for Red Bull, the athletic side or the product side?
I was shooting athletic side. Like they had different Red Bull events in Jamaica.
Right.
And I did that from the King of the Rock to even when they had like the Red Bull, the dancing, the break dancing competition. Okay. I documented that. When we actually had in Red Bull one of the youngest F1 racer drivers, Colin Daly was his name, Colin Daly Jr. Mm-hmm. I did some photographs of him, so I got a nice little exposure shooting for Red Bull when I was there in Jamaica before I left there and came to Trinidad. So, yeah, I did a bit of work. Forgot about those stuff. Anyway.
I mean, I can answer the question earlier. I was gonna ask you, how was it basically transitioning from film to digital, and like how
I mean, as I was saying before, to me, it wasn't very difficult because it was already in my head. Everything should be done in camera. I don't have time for post work. Because one, at a time too, even when I started working digital, I didn't have my own laptop, I didn't have my own computer. So again, everything for me had to be, if I have to give this to a camera shop or I have to give this to the client, I don't need to say, oh, we need to retouch this. I need to make sure that they could, okay, we can just upload it. So that was my thing. I just kept on thinking that was the reason for digital, that the client didn't have to sit down and wait about you having go to a camera shop or a printing lab to wait 1 week or 2 hours to it. They wanted to see it right then and there. They could just put it into the computer and like, oh, so we want this, this, and this. But again, it was like the early days, so then I was kind of like, okay, just take this. And then people were like, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't give me your raw file. I was like, what? Why not? They paid for it. No, you give them JPEG first. Like, because to me, I didn't care about these images. I was like, they paid for it. I'm not using it for anything else. But, but people are like, oh, they could call you back for it in the future. I was like, they ain't calling me back. This is Jamaica. This is not the States where they'll be like, oh, we want to reuse this. No, they'll be like, once they get the images,
use it forever.
They use it forever. That's one thing I had in my head is like, it's like when people used to say, if you lend somebody money, just consider it gone. The same thing with photographs. When I do any work job for a client, I don't think of me owning it. I think that you hired me for a service, and I'm just going to give you these images because if
you have no use of it after.
I have no use for it because I can only just display to say, oh, I took this image. I can't sell it. I can't make any money off of it. So take it.
I know. So they have the finals already. But I don't think people really go back and because if they wanted
something else,
unedited picture. Edited, they would have kind of told you any moment.
Just send me the unedited.
Yeah, and so to me that was like, but I understand if there's certain things that clients may want afterwards. And you said, no, if you were made an arrangement, you can only get 10 images. And then you have to realize, oh, I may want 5 more. Well, you have to pay more for that because you only paid for 10. That I understand. But I don't see the point of like, no, you can't get a raw files. Like, I mean, teach your own, but that's just me. I touched a button?
No,
okay,
I think so.
My finger touched this thing.
I think to when I have had people ask for the raw files, in my head I'm like, I don't know what you're gonna do with it because you're just the regular person. I know for sure you don't have Photoshop. I know you don't have Photoshop.
Right.
But if you want to see our tree file, hey man, I don't know what to do.
I mean, some people, they might have people that know as graphic designers or friends that could probably edit it, I guess. But again, I think coming from art school, one of the things that we learned early on is that you have to let go of your work. You can't hold on to it too much because after you create it, it's there for the public to consume, and however they want to consume it, that's their choice, you know. You can't really control like, oh, I want you to see it this way. I cannot tell you. I can hope that you see it that particular way, and if you do, that's great for me. But if you see it another way, then, well, that's your experience. That's your viewpoint, you know? I'll leave it at that.
Do you feel like all your pictures have a story to tell?
I try to.
I'm asking because I feel like all of my pictures don't have that story to tell. We were talking about earlier trying to create that mood, and sometimes I'm just like, I just had this idea of a cool picture in my head, and I took it, and people are messaging like, oh, I love this because of X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, it wasn't even that deep for me.
I mean,
so I'm asking.
I don't know.
You always have a story. You tell someone who's like, I just had this picture in my head.
I thought it would have looked cool.
I thought it would look cool. And then somebody's like, Marlon, I really love like her expression. It was so like, it really made me feel connected to her. And you're like, yeah, if you feel connected.
Here's my thing. I think in the beginning, no, I didn't have any thought process. I would just shoot things just on a whim. I just had an idea, just like you. I'd have a thing and I just want to take shots. That was the days of film. And I think that's probably what allowed me to have a better idea of what I want to do. Because in those early days when I was just really excited about going to the dark room, processing, printing my own pictures and so forth, I would go through film like crazy. Like if my mother was to say, tally up how much money I spent on buying rolls of film and paper, boy, I could have bought a laptop easy and have extra money, right? But that was just me, how excited I was about photography. But that is when I come to when people say, hey, I want you to shoot for me. I always like, no, like, but what do you want to do? What's the idea? What's the concept? Now, I don't need you to have a full fleshed out thing, but I need some kind of direction because I hate when I go on a set now and it's like, okay, so what we're doing. I have no way of directing you of what we're trying
What
to
vision
capture.
that you have.
You know, what we're trying
Yeah.
to get there. I didn't even know what I'm going to light it because I'm like, what we're doing, you know? So I always I need some direction. I need to know what we're doing, what's the angle we're going for, what we're trying to get out of the shot. And then from there, I can look about, oh, this might be interesting since we're talking about this, then probably this could be added to help narrate the story. So
Yeah.
I think now I'm more conscious and I try to do that as best as possible. It might not be no great story, but at least there's some depth in the image that, you know, even if I can put out the Easter egg, as I like to say nowadays, I try to put one inside the photograph, you know. But it might be just for me, and not for you, the viewer, but I might just put something that people are like, oh, what's that? And you might overlook it, but to me it's like, oh, that's a secret about why I like to do, you know. I put a little bit of something that's me, and I used to love always putting something else that's very random in the shot, like, why is that there? It's just like, I don't know, it just felt like I should put it there. It's like that artist thing, like, I'll put a piece of paper right there. Why? I just think it needs a little disruption. It's too tidy. Like, no one's room supposed to be this neat. Let's show you a little dirty, a little filth.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
That's just me.
Lived in.
Yeah, you know, it's like, come on. I think that's the thing. It's like, even when you think about Kendrick Lamar, when he's talking about, you know, let me see some natural, like some, you know, stretch marks.
Yeah.
It's because we have become a society where we kind of over-edit everything. You don't see blemishes on people's face. You don't see anything like stretch marks. Everybody you think is like, wow, they have the perfect skin ever. But when you see them in reality, like, whoa. It's either it's like you did some massively great makeup or they photoshopped the shit out of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the one disjustice I think about digital. Because you can manipulate the digital file versus film was like, well, this is what you look like, this is what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I can't, I mean,
It's like if you hate it, it's like, well, you hate yourself.
It's like,
yeah.
I really like how my belly looking in that picture. And
I was
it's
like,
oh,
well, you know, the camera, that's why people have to lie. Camera never lies. It's because it would tell the truth that you don't want to kind of accept. And it wasn't about the error, like, oh, you can't trick me. How we had to make people shrink was just using angles, colors. Okay, if you want to look slim, wear something dark. If we have a dark background, we can turn you on your side or whatever, then your body looks slimmer. You know, it's just things like that you have to think about. You know, if you don't want to look too broad, don't turn a person's face on wearing stripes horizontal because then they're gonna look bigger than the actual because those bands make things look, you know?
Yeah.
So if you do vertical lines, then the person like, oh, no, it shows more curves or whatever the case may be. So again, it's looking at those things. Lighting helps as well. If you understand lighting, if you have shadows, it can hide particular things that people don't want to see or what you want them to see. So again, because everybody is kind of like on this quick process, I think that we kind of forgot about these things that we can do within the camera before going post work, like, oh, now to make a person slim, I have to use liquefied tool and put that in or like whatever tool it is. I don't even use it. That's how I don't even know the actual name of the tool is. Like anytime.
Correct.
Okay, because I didn't use it. When I started to learn photography, I used to go to people who did graphic design, and they were the ones who would teach me these different tools. So that's how I got to understand editing, and then after that it would be YouTube, you know, the University of YouTube. You know, that's how I learned to skin retouch and everything like that. So thanks, YouTube.
Thanks, YouTube.
Is this going on YouTube? Is this going on YouTube?
Yeah.
See, we'll promote you here.
What was life like before photography? I mean, I know you, I guess, started out very early, but I more want to know, like, were you doing any odd jobs? Were you...
what do you call odd jobs?
Anything that was not photography?
Oh, yeah. That, then yes, of course. Early days of photography in Jamaica, I was a hustler, like most people in the Caribbean, I think. I had different caps to wear. I was working on art department in different TV shows or movies or music videos and so forth. So
Actually, that's still in the industry.
yeah, so oh, you mean outside of that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, were you
like I was in front of the camera a few
selling
times.
hair?
Selling hair?
I don't know. People sell hair. That's good money.
No, I was like, I just never thought of me selling hair. What did I do outside? I guess summertime when I was a kid, teenager, you know, before camera, was like I'd work a summer job at a pharmaceutical, you know, selling stuff like that. But
Pharmacies get you.
Yeah, it wasn't anything.
Natural progression of life.
Yeah,
Pharmacy, photography.
I did things like that. I had to be a sales rep for like a commissary for a pharmaceutical company. I used to work before I went to school to Ed Manley. I used to work in the microfilm department of an insurance company, and that was literally the days of a machine. Probably was big like a typewriter, and it would put the documents and would scan, I guess, the different person's documents of their life insurance. So when the person needed to find out information, they'd call the information desk, and they'd have these very micros, like almost like, I don't know if you call it 8mm size, very small cubes that you know, and they'd put it on a projector so they could see, oh, the beneficiary on the person. Da, da, da. So I used to, So those are the kind of odd jobs.
Passport size photos, no?
No, it's smaller than that.
Smaller than?
Like literally, it was like a microfilm. So it was like the size of like your SIM card or something like that, you know. So those were the size of the actual frames, and they would put it on a projector, and then it would enlarge on the projector so you could see who's on the document, beneficiary, blah blah blah, blah whatever foolishness. Those are the odd jobs I did before photography. I didn't do anything else that was outside of the realm of art. I think I was always in the arts, even when I was in the church, and that might be surprising for most people. Yes, I went to church.
Amen.
Hallelujah. The thing that used to get most people jumping out to their chairs is when I say, I used to teach Sunday school. Ooh, yeah. There were some kids that I was the favorite person to talk to because I'd be like, what you guys want to talk about today? And I just had no holds barred. I was like, whatever they want to talk about, we're going to talk about, you know? Yeah. Most kids at that time were just like, it was young adults had to teach. They would always want to have interest about sex and blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, don't do it. God said it for a reason, don't do it. It's addictive. It's like a drug. Trust me, you don't want to be on that. And plus the responsibilities, you know, suppose you beat somebody. Sorry people, that's how we talk in Jamaica. Yeah, suppose you beat somebody. You have money for buying somebody picnic? No. Yeah. So think about it, you know. Make sure you wear your Jimmy hat every time, you know. Make sure. If you're gonna do it, wear your Jimmy hat. You know, and even then you're still not sure. So it's that thing that I used to try to talk to kids about. I mean, I don't say why to stay away because I was a teenager and out of curiosity I did the things that my parents said, don't do it. It's like, but why? Oh, now I see why. But I like it. But now I know why, but I still enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. Those are the odd things I did. This is such a weird conversation. I just feel like everyone's
I haven't seen anybody talk to about it. Like,
okay.
I think it's nice to know.
Okay.
It's
different. People want to know about you.
Yeah.
That's the next thing too. I generally don't think people care who the rat I am, because I think that whole thing like people say they're going through that main character syndrome kind of thing. Yeah. I think in my own bubble that I'm in my own bubble that no one sees me. When I walk on the road, I just think it's just me walking.
No. You said nobody sees you, and I remember this time I saw you walking in the road, and you were walking like you're sprinting. I'm like, why is he walking so fast?
Yeah, I have a trademark about that.
Like, why is he walking so fast? Where is he going? Is he late? I was in our car. I couldn't be late.
Yeah, no. I'm never late per se, but I have this weird thing about being fit. What the hell? Being fit. So I think every time because of this Apple Watch foolishness, it's almost like I'm trying to get my steps in, but I'm trying to get like calories burnt because I'm trying to close the ring and whatever. So I try to walk with purpose. And I guess also when I was in New York, that's how it used to be. You know, I didn't live in New York, but I'd stay like for a month or a month and a half. And when you're in like, in the city, that's how people move. They move at pace, you know.
Oh, I mean,
so it kind of was like, okay, well, this is how people move. You move about getting from point A to point B because no time to waste.
And walk with confidence, even if you're walking in the wrong way.
And to be honest,
walk with confidence and turn around with confidence.
To be honest, that used to be also my the anti-theft robbery solution too. I always think that people, especially in Trinidad, no one used to mess with me because of that. Because I always looked like I was like...
Yeah, he knew the area.
He didn't know the area, but he was a man on the go. And nobody wanted to be like jogging on somebody. It's like, hey, come here. You know, it's like, because I'm moving, right? It's like, you can't be like, hey, sir, why this man can't stop? You moving so fast, boss, man. So I feel that me moving at pace is like people like, right, him too fast. Yeah, that man too fast, you know. For me, catch that man for try to stop him for running down, and probably hear me run him down. And so I just think that was the next thing too. And I think that my resting bitch face, that's what I think I have, also tells people, don't talk to him. Him don't want to talk to nobody. I just want to go about my business. And generally that's it is. I just want to go from point A to point B. Don't talk to me. I don't need to talk to you. You don't need to talk to me. All right? Unless I want to stop and I want to smell the roses, aka take pictures, then I'll try to change the face to be like, oh, hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
But after that, like, no. Keep your lane, I keep my lane. That's how I am, generally.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
want to tell us about the introspective blog?
Oh, wow.
I was going to ask something. My question is very simple.
Okay.
It's nothing to do with photography. Trinidad or Jamaican KFC?
Wow. You want to put me on the spot to get killed. Well,
I haven't been to Jamaica, so that's why I'd ask. A true Jamaican.
All right. To me, no disrespect to Trinidad, right? Man, I understand. Everybody going to love them own KFC. But I prefer Jamaican KFC over Trini. I find it a little more spicy. Plus, we have barbecue 365, not only a special time of the year for them. So our spicy barbecue, which is kind of like a fried chicken with the barbecue sauce, that's usually 365 for us. And yeah, I love spicy chicken. And I used to always enjoy it in Jamaica more. I mean, the one thing I find that you guys surprised me was that when I delivered for KFC, I was like, wow.
Y'all don't have delivery?
No, we don't have delivery in KFC. If you want KFC, you have to walk go this up.
Jeez.
Yeah, you have to walk this or drive this. So we don't have KFC.
I mean, that's probably good.
I mean, yeah.
You can work off your calories.
Listen, when I was a youth,
like more worth
whenever I want, it was like for me, Fridays or Saturdays was usually KFC. Like that would be the day mom say, yo, I'm not cooking. So you have to choose what you want, right? And I live probably almost 2 miles from KFC.
Right.
And I was like, yo, Friday night, I want KFC. I'd literally, because my mom didn't want to give me the car, I'd walk from home, go to KFC 2 miles away, buy the KFC, walk, come back home.
Yeah, you
eat.
take your hour
to
go and come back.
It was like, but again, I was a kid, I'd move at pace, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the next reason why I walk with pace. In Jamaica, to me, unlike Trinidad, we had enough man on the road that would be preying you. And
Gotcha.
once I'm pre and I realized, oh, that man look like I have money. You know, I just wasn't on the whole.
You can't give them enough time to think of
Yeah, you know, by the time they say, yo, I want, which part man got?
It's your fourth time walking on the street going to KFC.
Yeah, and
and it's like, right, every Friday.
Yeah.
Every Friday, 5 o'clock, I see them.
Yeah. And that's why I always break up my routes. I change. 1 week I walk this way, next week I go up and down around. Or if I walk one way when I exiting, I walk another way out. So I never would see which part.
It's like, you're going to KFC, I'm waiting for him.
Gotcha.
So I think that's always my thing. And I think that's where my appreciation of walking and I guess just seeing spaces where I go, because I would always be curious about these homes I would see, or even just yard spaces. It's like, yo, this house look interesting. I want to know who live in there, what them inside of the house look like, and what have you. And I think that's where like my Lonely Wanderer series started to, birth after a while. It's just like when I had the whole thing, I went to Barbados. That's where it literally started, Barbados, Lonely Wanderer series. And it was starting with my iPhone. I just was like walking around Barbados, like, I don't know when next I'll come to Barbados. So with my phone, it's like a Polaroid for me. I just take little snapshots of wherever I visit in Barbados, And then when I came to Trinidad, I figured like, let me try to give Trinidad an next try. Because I wasn't sure if I really loved Trinidad. I was just probably here at the time, just all right, I moved here for love, didn't work out, but I was getting work. So let me see how the work thing do. And then I think coming back from Barbados, I started to give everybody a different lens, start looking at things differently and start to go a different appreciation, So I think I started to take in things a lot differently and I wanted to showcase it. So then the Lonely Wanderer series started to happen about what I was seeing through my lens as a man that didn't know Trinidad and my way of learning the roads, because again, unlike Trinidad, Jamaica, we don't have road signs, right? So a lot of the sites, a lot of the streets we in Jamaica, you'd have to describe to a man and say, yo, go to the house to have the blue whatever awning or whatever upon the side of the road and XYZ. Right. Versus Trinidad, you actually have names. So you could say, oh, go on Fire Street, go on this street, and
Yeah, because I I'm planning to go to Jamaica later in this year.
Okay, cool.
And I was like, I would just rent a car, and everybody was like, no, wait, hold on. Mash brakes, slow your roll. Because like, if I go to Barbados, I rent a car.
Right.
When I went to St. Lucia, I was planning to rent a car, but then situation changed, so I didn't end up renting a car.
Right.
When I'm in the States, well, except for New York,
Right.
I'll rent a car.
Right.
Because I think New York, it's just walk.
It makes sense better
Yeah.
because if not, you have to think about where
Yeah.
you're going to park or what time you have to move the car in the morning because
Yeah.
this side change has no parking and you're going to take it. Yeah. Trust me, it don't make sense. I can't.
So New York, I footed, but my head is just like, I just hop in a car and but that would make sense why people be like, yeah.
To me,
And then also the drivers I hear is,
well, yeah, the Jamaican drive is one thing, but the next thing is also Waze don't know which road is ghetto road from which is not ghetto
Yeah.
road. So Waze would say, yo, drive through here. And you're like, yeah. And you're like, wait,
Just realized what you said.
it's like,
I don't
brick-
know.
it's like brick roads, brick
Yeah.
buildings, and then it's like galvanized. Wait, what's going
Yeah,
on?
man. Let me tell you something. Like, I remember even like when I used to go when I was younger, like probably like 15 years old, and we'd be going. My next one, he did martial arts, so he'd take me with him sometimes.
Right.
And we'd drive a certain route, and then he'd go to this very small lane. And the lane basically was small enough, like, you know, like how parts of Belmont
Belmont, yeah,
say.
you can
You have
kinda
only
just
one,
like-
yeah, either one car have to just go over close, and you can barely have to pull your mirror in.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how that road stay, right? But that was like a lane, right?
Right.
You make sure you don't drive too fast and knock nobody, much less knock them dog, because you not drive through that road there, right? So you have to be like, those are roads that Waze might say you go through, and you're
Like-
gonna drive to, and I'm gonna say, boss man, which
where
way I
you
go?
from?
Yeah. And you open your mouth like, oh, you're not from around the sun. Oh, you're
Yeah.
fired now. So which way I go, my youth? And you're like, I feel scared now.
Yeah.
But I take a tax from you. Yeah, you can't just drive through yourself. Yeah, you be like, tax? Yeah, Jamaica, man, you can't just drive through them area. I remember when I was even taking pictures and I was in certain areas, and man say, yo, you pay a tax? Excuse me? Yeah, the done. You know, you have to pay him due, so you want to take a picture of one. I was like, what? Yeah, so even like how I could walk around Trinidad and just take snapshots of different areas.
Yeah.
I even remember when I first started taking pictures, I'd ask people like, is it okay to take a picture of this wall or this fence? And people are like, what's wrong with this man? Yeah, take a picture of the wall. But in Jamaica, you
Yeah.
could see a random wall and just think it's interesting. I want to take it, and a man would just walk in front of like, why I take a picture of my wall for? And I was like, excuse me, what? This is my wall. If you want to take a picture of the wall, you have to give me money. Like Jamaicans saw any opportunity
To make a
to make a buck. Like it don't have to be the man wall, but you say, oh, you find some value in this. All right.
Let me see how I can
I'm gonna say how I can get a little money off of this. I'm not really going to make things difficult for you, but I can make it hard for you, right?
Right.
So you'll be like, so a pause, sorry. I realized when I said pause. Sis man, I'm sorry. But yeah, it was just that thing, you know, they'd be like, yeah, you can't take a picture unless I give you the okay.
Right.
Versus in Trinidad, no one cared. Like, we don't see what value is seen in that piece of rubble,
It's
but
like, unless I in it, I don't care.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
go forth, bro. You know, so that was a transition for me. That was a change that I didn't expect. You know, people were just willing, like, okay. Even if I saw people and I wanted to take pictures of them, they were less, you know, resistant to saying, oh, sure. In Jamaica, it'll be like, how much will you pay me? I just want to take a picture. How much you pay me? Where is the picture for? Where I go? Which part I go? Go up on newspaper? How much you pay me? And I'm like, boss man, I just think you look interesting. I want to take a picture. You know, how much you pay me? Where are you? So you always had to be like walking with extra money in your pocket
Yeah.
if you were going in certain areas in Jamaica. So that's,
Jamaica would hate to see me coming. I don't walk with cash anywhere I go.
well, you know, they will find other ways, you know. Yo, that watch look nice, you know. Put it on my arm once, so you look on my hand.
Yeah.
They're robbing you by that time,
Yeah.
let you know that. when you do things like that, like, yo, that watch look nice. Let me see how it look on my hand.
Yeah.
Put it on my hand, some people don't think, say, I'm not take anything from you. Yeah? And you put it on your hand, they're like, yeah, man. I take a borrows here, I'll link you later. Which part you say you live again?
Yeah.
That's me telling a story about what happened to me, but, you know, never may come to you.
No, it's it. Yeah, it's it. Yeah.
can
So
ask.
the
All right.
perspective blog.
We went off tangent off of that. My apologies.
No.
Yeah, this blog,
Yeah, so it started this year, January.
Yeah. I started this year. It was my New Year's resolution. You know, people say if you don't start in the first month or whatever, you just call it quits. You're not going to keep your thing. So I thought about my work, and I probably thought, after talking to a friend, Adeline Gregoire, she's also the curator for Hot Sun, which I'm a part of as well. She was suggesting that, you know, maybe I could do like a Gmail chimp or, you know, newsletter where I send it to MailChimp, right? And so I could send it to my different, you know, people who are interested in my work. And I took the idea, but I didn't feel like I wanted to do the MailChimp because I know people could say they could unsubscribe or whatever the case may be, but I guess I've always been the kind of person like, you know what, I'm going to put this out there. Who wants to read it? It's for you to read. I don't want to be kind of telling people, hey, this is for you to read, check it out, check it out, check it out.
Yeah.
I feel always, to me, you know, it's kind of like forcing people stuff that they never asked for.
Yeah.
So I rather now put it on my website, put it on like Substack, or, you know, promote it on like Twitter or Instagram when I have the time. You know, just say, hey, I did this. If you're interested, take a read. Yeah. And it's about me looking back on some of my images, why I took the image, what it meant to me at the time, and what I see to mean now or could mean to some people. Yeah. Just kind of give more, you know, introspection into why I did what I do, you know?
Yeah.
It's like my last blog, I think I put on my Facebook, like nobody asked, but here's my next blog. It's because like, it's more about me, again, in that last blog, splitting hair about how people sometimes think that I'm great. And I do the quotation because in my head, I don't think I'm great. I think I'm okay. And I'm trying to become great. And becoming great is like doing particular projects, or I think I need to do these particular projects to make people aware, or I need to sell these amount of images. These are things in my head that, you know, cause me to think this is what needs to be great, you know. I need to be on a lot of jobs, on different projects, you know, creating some big moves that, you know, have some kind of conversation with the rest of the world, you know. And I feel like I might be doing it on a minute level, but I still don't think I'm there, you know. I appreciate all the people who love my work and who think I'm a legend and great and so forth. I just personally don't think I'm there yet, but I definitely want to work and become that level. And on that way, I just thought, let me share my own thoughts about some of my stuff. Sometimes it's just images that I'm working on, and it's kind of like, you know, this brings back a story about something about my past, and maybe somebody might find it interesting, maybe it might be helpful to somebody, you know. And sometimes I think maybe if, you know, people see my images and they don't understand why this image is taken, like what's so special about this photograph, I'm giving it insight, like this is why it's special to me. You can like it or not. I'm not forcing you to, but this is why I enjoy it, and this is my reason for why I went about doing it.
Yeah, because like I saw one of the pictures, it was like a little shop, a full shop.
Right.
I was like, okay. And then I went to the website and I saw it was under the Jamaica tab. I was like, oh, okay, makes more sense. All right.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing, you know, like pictures can tell 1,000 words, and then in a society now where we're bombarded every day, like from whatever social media platform you're on to actual advertising, and, you know, you're seeing images every day. It's like, all I want to do is find a way of stopping you for a second to look at what I did, you know, because I think if you create the same thing that everybody's doing, then people are just going to flip over like, okay, I saw this a million times. It looks like something X, Y, Z. But when you look at my image, I don't want you to think of necessarily anybody else. I want like, what is this Marlon do here? And you might not like it, like I said, you know, but at least I kind of stop you for a second or five, you know. 5 seconds is always a sweet spot. I feel like if I could stop people this day and age for 5 seconds, be like, what's this? Interesting.
Are you interested in some insurance?
I don't know. I just find it just I don't know. I just see like where I feel like for me, because when I scroll through Instagram, images that I don't like, or not don't like, it just like it doesn't say anything to me. I'm just like, so I don't even spend a second. I'm just really scrolling up. So when I can find something that stops me, I'm like, whoop, and I'm like looking through the rest of the photographs. Like if it's a carousel of images, I'm interest, and I'm taking my time. I'm not just quickly swiping or whatever. I'm just like really digesting in this kind of like, ooh, okay, cool. And then it might inspire me, so then I'm going to save it. Or I might share it with a friend, like, hey.
Take a piece of this and use it somewhere.
I think also in one of my introspective, I talk about the wheels already been invented, you know? We're not really reinventing anything.
Yeah.
We're not really creating anything new. We're kind of reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
So it's just how we add our own little, modifications to that already designed wheel. Because every kind of photograph you think you've probably done, I can guarantee you can look back in the archives like, oh, somebody did something like it. Probably not the same execution like you, but there was something that started this particular trend, this look.
Yeah.
It didn't just come out of you're not the only person to think it. Like, we have over 1 billion people on the earth. We already know the theory that, at least 10 or 20 people, at least, have the same thought like you. Whether they actually do something about it or not is a difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you ever seen any of your thoughts
Oh, yeah.
by other people?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember when I was in school, I used to sometimes talk about my ideas about things I wanted to do, and it used to be fun because then people heard the idea and they liked it, or, and they took it, and they literally went and did the same concept that I said, and then it would be interesting to me because then I look at what they did, and I was like, oh, I see what you did, but then I saw all the faults, I saw all the mistakes, and oh. Now, when I do this, for myself, I know not to make these probably pitfalls that I saw in their imagery. So then when I created it, it somewhat no longer became like, oh, you're following that person. Like, oh, Marlon did this shot that looks like his own, but it just was executed better.
Right.
So then it was just like, oh, well, I feel in a way, and this is like just a little joke in my head, I feel like I'm Apple, where it's already been invented, but I'm like, let me just rehash this and put it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my word, like
this is the greatest thing ever.
like, oh my God, like, well,
like, it's already been done, but it hasn't been done in this way.
Like, thanks for liking my style.
Yeah.
He did it first, but I just did it better. I can do what you do, I do better.
Yeah.
No, you can't. Yes, I can.
Yeah.
That was always my head. It was like, I feel like, everything has been done, but how can I make it mine? Because
Refine it.
and I think that's the thing. Like, sometimes photographers these days, I think that I don't have no problem with people mimicking or stealing, in a sense, from another photographer, but try to put a little twist in it. Make it a bit of yours, something that's just not what the photographer did originally. Just add something, whether it's the technique in how to light, the composition of the photograph, even the model, the subject, whatever it is, just change it up a little bit. Just make it your own. Because once you start looking like everybody, then, people are just going to skim over you and just like, on to the next one.
Yeah.
I think you should always try in your best to, hold the attention of the viewers, because if you don't, then who will?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you talk about like things that you want to do in life? Okay, basically, I don't know if this is on TikTok, but I saw it a while ago. People are like, work in silence to talk about what you're doing until like it actually happened. Or are you the person where it's like, no, talk about things that you want to do, because you never know who could help you out.
Yeah,
at the end of the day. Because that's how I try to see things.
But
then I know there's people that are like, they don't want to see you surpass them in any way, so they will try to pull you down.
That's AKA bad mind, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. I mean, a lot of people have that train of thought. You okay?
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
All right. Yeah, I think that's bad mind, in my opinion, and it's like the second time, bro. Like,
I'm good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. As I said, bad mind in a sense, because it's already been done, and sometimes you can tell people what you have in mind, but the execution is always going to be different, because my thought process, no matter how much I can tell you things, you don't see what I've seen in my head. I can give certain descriptions, but it's not the full description. And then also, when you're probably in the moment seeing things, you can be like, no, it's not working. Scratch that, let's do this, So I just think that you always need that stepping stone, that starting point, because
Yeah.
like any painter, any sculptor, any jeweler, you know, it's the most difficult thing is the starting position. It's like when you have a blank canvas or you have just,
Yeah.
what do I do first? Where do I start from? You know?
Me with any research paper first go, I'm just like, I don't know how to start this thing, you know. Introduction. That's good enough. All right, I'll come back to this at some point.
And then, you know, sometimes it might be, the idea might be, I smoke. I hope people know that. And if I look high. But I think sometimes when I smoke, I like it because when I walk, random thoughts that come to your head and you're like, wait, sounds stupid, but let's percolate it. Let's think about it some more. And then it becomes something more like, yo, and then you look in a book or a magazine or you read something like, same thing I was thinking about, I'm seeing something similar here. Not the same, but then you can see the connections and then you're like, okay. And whether you start jotting it down or you draw, I don't know what people's different method is, but that's what I start to do. I start writing down, I jot down, I draw sometimes my ideas. So at least I have something. Or when I started out with Pinterest, for example, I used to just find images that have something that I want to do, and then I give it a name. So like whenever I go there, it's like, yeah, this is what I was thinking about that particular kind of shoot. So this kind of look, the feel, probably the design of the clothes, what you want, the lighting, all these things that just feeds into that, you know, pool that you want to like, okay, how do I mix this all together to give the final image?
Yeah.
You know, so I used to think it's best to hide certain things, but nowadays it just don't make no sense because I just feel like, yeah, no one really is going to see exactly what you're seeing.
Yeah.
You know, and you snooze, you lose, I guess. So if you share and somebody did before you, then you have nobody to blame except yourself in the sense that you had an opportunity, you could have done it. For whatever reason, you didn't do it, but then somebody saw the chance and they did it, you know?
Yeah.
Whether they did it to the execution you wanted or not, that is left to be unsaid, you know? And then you probably can look at what they did and say, all right, cool, I see what you did, but now how can I improve this?
Yeah.
Because you give me a kind of like more inspiration. I was like, okay,
Let
you
me
took
put
my
you on
idea
it.
and you did that, okay, but I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna do this, and before you know it, you can do a whole different version of this, like a parody if you want to call it, and then maybe it strikes better because now that you've seen all the little mishaps, you create a better product, a better image.
Yeah.
Apple reference again.
Everybody watch me.
I don't know.
You look like you had something to say.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know where. I feel weird when I tell people, like I was telling them earlier, like I know for one example why people feel like, what am I supposed to do? Because like the minute that the camera I finished talking, it's like, okay, so what do I do now?
So yeah, you
and then so I'm just like,
have to do something now.
So now I'm like, well, you invited me, so I go look at like, so what next? That's all in my head. I was like, so what next? I
felt an immense pressure. I was like,
we were talking and then you were there trying to fix
yeah, because I see the tap.
So you seem like you're settled in now and like you were ready to go on to...
So I'm like, all right, bro, so what you got to say now? Jabari asked me a question, so Jabari, what you got to ask me?
I felt like I asked empty questions. I was like, this is your turn. I even overtook his question with my KFC thing.
Oh, that was his question?
No, that was the question before. About the I was like, I'm giving you time, you talk, I'm just going to sit for a while.
Can you tell us about Saint Art 700?
That's an organization out of Martinique. I was approached by them, or I should say I approached them to be one of their artists that will be in this kind of like, I would say like global print market where what she's trying to do, Lauren, who's the person who runs it, she is thinking about how we can get more Caribbean artwork in spaces, both in Europe spaces and in these kind of like restaurants, breakfast, home, you know, bed and breakfast kind of spaces. And not only say people to purchase, but sometimes people don't want to buy art, they might just want to rent it for a period of time and then change out. So she's even offering that service where, okay, you might want this print and you might only want it for 3 months, and then 3 months you want to switch it to a next image. And then she provides that service where I have these different artists from painters, sculptors, photography, So then you can look and you can see what you want, and then based on the time period, you make the arrangement.
So like someone who has like a B&B is like, all right, so I could change out the
like today or this month or for
I know what this is.
What?
I know what you're talking about. Like, just like it sounds very familiar.
Yeah, I think
I saw it in the context of these very rich people. It's basically like the people come to your house, switch out your artwork, so that way it just feels fresh. Always.
But think about establishment. Suppose you had a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And then in the coffee shop, you wanted particular things that show the scenery of the Caribbean. Not necessarily your country, but the region.
Yeah.
And then you have 1 or 2 photographs, paintings or so that have it. And then you think, after 6 months or so, you just want to switch it out. So then people are like, ooh, these are fresh. Whether it is that they want to purchase it or they might say, I love the work you put in there by this artist. Where can I see more? I want to buy the print.
Yeah.
Then you can go to this particular site, and then depending on how much editions of these prints you may have, you, the patron, can purchase this. Or you can say, oh, I have an office space, I have this, I want to rent something similar. So it's just another avenue where for you, the artist, you can, make work for you, like kind of passive aggressively.
Right.
You just put it out there, who finds it, something they want in their space, they can either purchase it, rent it, or they can do a rent to purchase kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, you can do installments to actually help you. And then you, the artist, then you get your work seen or in spaces that probably, like for me, I think with the Anglophone, we don't really know much about the Spanish and the Francophone areas too much, right? So this is another way of breaching that market. Right. So as I always think, as a photographer, as an artist, you never just want to be pigeonholed to your region. You want to be as expansive as possible because, again, we never know who's going to see. I'm like, yo, we love your eye. And this is just, to them, it's fresh because probably they've been getting so much from their region and their style to get something from the Anglophone, versus the Francophone. It's like, oh, this is how the English stuff. All right, cool. And then when we see from the Francophone, like, wow, they take pictures differently, they paint things differently.
Different colors,
Yeah, but we're still from the region of the Caribbean, but we just see things differently, which is what I think every artist is supposed to be doing.
Right.
We're not really supposed to be replicating the same thing. We should be giving our own. As I always repeat, give a bit of your own self in the image, whatever it is, painting, drawings.
Yeah. And with that, well, not with that, but how do you stay generating new ideas or getting out of periods of nothing is coming to me?
Well, I don't really think I have periods of that anymore, or really did. I think because I was always either watching movies or reading a book or a magazine or a short story, something would always percolate to me. Like, ooh, I like how I read a book and there's a little, synopsis out of the book. I'm like, this is an interesting image that pops in my head. I was like, I wonder how I could do a Caribbean version to this. Yeah, like everything I think of based on where it's, kind of narrated, I would think about how can I do a Jamaican version, or how can I do a Caribbean version, or how can I do a version that, responds to us here in the Caribbean. I think I'm always constantly being inspired from different things, whether it's seeing images, reading, or watching things online. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I have much dead time where I'm not really being inspired. Sorry, you had something?
No, I was waiting for you to finish your thought. I was
feel
told
like, I'm on the block.
I never let people finish their thoughts. That being said, I was going to ask, because when you said you read any book and you thought about, I don't know why I forgot about it, you just said it. Okay. I was going to ask you, when you read, do you think about, do you visualize?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But it depends on the book. I mean, if it's a self-help book, that no, I'm not visual.
Oh. Yeah, novels are definitely.
When he's talking to you, are you visualizing things?
So when he was talking about in Jamaica when he had to go for KFC, I was visualizing. It was him as a kid.
Yeah.
Briskly walking.
Okay. No, I just was asking because there are some people that don't visualize. They just.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's what I asked, because I'm like, you're talking about Jamaica, and I'm thinking about Jamaica.
And I'm thinking about the
I might
streets.
completely be wrong because I've never been there. I've only just seen it through scanning videos.
To be honest, I always visualize it. Anytime, so it's even like when people call me up and they say, hey, I have an idea. And the minute they start telling me the idea.
I thought about a light bulb.
Okay, see?
Nah,
That's why I'm like,
I had a blank canvas, like literally just blank people on it.
no.
I know.
It's like how we starting to draw.
Yeah. But no, for me, it's like people will come with ideas and they start telling me, oh, I want to do something with, and they start listening to what immediately I'm like, okay.
pop.
And I'm starting what they're describing. If it's a person, all right, this person looking like this, okay. And then you're thinking, what kind of space? And then I'm saying, all right, cool. And then I'm whether it's, again, something I've read, something I've seen, something I've watched,
Yeah.
then there's like your memory bank just start going ding, 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 pulling things, compositing things for you. And then you're like, all right, so I'm seeing something in my head, and what I'm seeing is, and you try to describe to them.
Yeah.
No,
It's like,
it could
that's
be.
how we going? No?
No,
Okay, how about this? Yeah.
And then from there, I would be like, how about this? And that's why I'll Pinterest and things online now. I could be like, how about you look for images? It don't have to be the final image, but things that kind of are what you see in your head about what you want to capture.
Yeah,
And
I've
then
asked people
send-
for reference images.
And
to-
send it to me. Then I can probably like, okay. And then once you send a few to me, then it
Like,
pops
okay,
to me like,
I know.
oh, so then based off what you said, and you sent me like first two things, I'm like, so we're talking about this. And I'm like, oh yeah, exactly. Like, okay, cool. So it just sometimes I might need a refinement because I'm like, you have something specific that I probably misinterpreted. So I'm like, so give me something to kind of relate to.
Yeah.
So then the ones that say like, oh, so we're talking something more like this, and they're like, yeah, closer to this. Then you're like, okay. So then I can go down a rabbit hole and then find things that might be more leaning to that, or even more, and then to get more fine tuning, like, yeah. And then it's like, okay, I think I have an idea where we're going with this. Whether it's spot on the image, but at least I know where, if I'm going to do the shoot, where I'm going to start from. So we're looking from here to start. And probably when we're shooting, it might be like, oh, this is not working exactly how we thought. Maybe we need to change it up like this. And then it might be, ooh, I didn't think about this, but this seems to be working. But at least we have a starting point. So you don't, like I said earlier, you don't have this blank canvas like, all right, so what we're doing first?
Yeah.
I don't know. What you want to do first? I don't know. What you want to do first?
You bring me here.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
you took me here, and I just here. I just
take
here.
pictures.
It happens so much more than you would like think.
Especially, I feel
So
like,
once you have,
especially
like,
in
what
here. I feel like especially in here. All right, I reach. It's
Yeah, you
like,
can't see like, did y'all not talk before? What's going on? It's like, all right, not my business.
I don't know. To me, it's interesting because I think like even your Sukarama here, to me, it feels like all you need is just a front area, and I feel like I'm in like that room with Xavier, that white room.
Oh yeah,
I just feel like that's what it's like. We're floating like, hey,
yeah. Wrap
so
it
we're-
around a little bit more. And just
Yeah, that's the thing.
put a walkway.
I'll be like,
Another.
yeah, we're just in total like this negative space, just talking, shooting
Yeah.
breeze, whatever. It's just like, but yeah, anyway, again, my brain thinks
Yeah.
as I see things.
What is it like, I guess, transitioning into the commercial space? Because I mean, you do fine art
Yeah.
photography.
Well,
And
commercial.
How does that, like,
how
how does
do I
that
say?
come about? Because I mean, I guess you
It
did
was a
Red
means
Bull.
to ends for me. It was a means to ends because it was where I would get paid.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
did it just happen, or were you like
Oh no!
intentionally looking for?
I intentionally looked for work because when I started doing photography in school, I started looking at all these other photographers. They were not based in Jamaica. They were international, America, Europe, wherever. And I saw the different projects they were working on. I was like, I want to be able to do that. I want to be flown out to shoot a campaign for a tire company or
Yeah.
whatever, I think that's a brilliant thing. And then I saw fashion editorials where it seemed like the blend of imagination, like total free imagination, mixed with fashion. So you're like, we have a concept, and no holds bar. All you need to know is that the fashion is what the woman or the man is wearing, and then the environment is what we create it to be. So whatever background we want to create, we can create whatever background, just to clash or complement the fashion. So I love fashion photography, and I always thought that I wanted to be more into fashion editorial. But then one of my big photographers, or the photographer that influenced me a lot, was Richard Avedon. And Avedon was that blend between portrait and fashion. Right. So I think when most people saw my earlier work, they said, oh, I see the influence of Avedon, that you have that, how you do your headshots, and I used to do everything against like a stark white wall so you could just focus on the person. Because I did think that, putting the person in the environment could sometimes distract, depending if it was in color or black or white, because, and how much of the background is seen versus how much is not seen, because again, this is all about composition, you know? So I think initially that's where everything came from, you know, looking on individuals who made it or who are seen as masters and seeing the things that they did, following their steps, and then saying, all right, I did that, I get the hang of it, now how can I make this more mine? Because I don't want anybody to look at it and say, oh, this is something Avedon would do, or this is something XY would do. I want them first think like, I see Marlon, but I can see the influence from somebody. So it's more like, to me, a compliment that you're not copying the person. You just took a little bit from that person, but you made it your own. And that's what I appreciate more.
Yeah.
You know?
I get that.
So that's always my goal when it comes to taking any pictures. I don't mind if people can see the influence or the, you know, the inspiration, but I still want them to say that, well, as much as you're inspired by this person, you've made it your own image.
Right.
And I think that's what I hope most artists, photographers, you know, would like to do.
What are you currently shooting on?
Film-wise, I have my roll effects. I have a Nikon F. Those were gifted to my uncle, who was a photographer. Outside of that, I have a...
Not leaving, I'm just checking something.
Okay. Outside of that, I have a Canon ESR, the first one, the mirrorless camera.
Okay.
And that's my kind of like commercial go-to camera. Yeah. I do most of the stuff on that, both commercial and portrait, fine art portrait with that. I'm leaning, no, I mentioned to Jabari earlier. I love doing that because no, which Jabari? That I wanted to get, I think I want to go into a Leica system soon, the M mounts.
Okay.
Just more curiosity than anything else. Cause I've used SLR, DSLRs from start of like 98 till now. And you know, I've always heard from people who use Leicas, like once you use a Leica, you never turn back. I'm like, all right, let me see if I can, I want to give it a try. And if it is from what I gather is one of the benefits of it, the zone focusing, I think that, you know, even like yesterday I was driving into town and I was thinking like, man, maybe this is where Leica would definitely, you know, be a good shot. It's very small, it's not that, you know, intrusive. You know, you could wear it around your neck or hide it, you know, and then you could quickly, it's kind of the size of your phone roughly, right? Okay. Just a little bit thicker.
But you can get a Fujifilm, right? The Fujifilm one.
Yes, but again,
I don't know, people talk about like it's this like,
Heaven sent.
it is the Lord himself. I don't know, I haven't used one.
I haven't used one either, so I don't know, but again,
but let me know when
to
you
me,
get one.
all right, a Fuji is still SLR, a DSLR, right? It's a mirrorless DSLR. It's not a rangefinder, is it?
The X100 ones?
Yeah, is it a rangefinder or is it, because if it's not a rangefinder, then that's what I want. I want a rangefinder. I want that based off of your aperture, it tells you what zone that you can focus in. So you know, oh, if I use aperture 8, anything within the 2 feet zone or whatever will be sharp. So once you know that, okay, that is roughly 10 feet away from me, I can put it at this point that, you know, you don't have to really worry too much. You just know that, okay, everything's gonna be sharp. It's just really composition and you just snap. When you have to do the whole thing of the camera hunting because it's looking for contrast, you sometimes lose that time to capture that photograph versus if you already know that, oh, I'm already in that zone that all I need to worry about is composition and just pushing the button. I don't have to be like, let me focus a little bit. No.
Like, hold on, wait.
Yeah. And in that time that the camera is hunting sometimes, because say for example, the shot I'm looking at in my head, right? I'm in a bus and I'm seeing on the right side the mirror, which I'm looking through, and the left side I'm seeing through the front driver's window, right? So I'm seeing the sunset because the front driver window is clear versus the right side, which is kind of, it's not out of focus, but it's a softer focus because the tint on the glass, I knew if I wanted to focus on the crowd, the camera would probably hunting.
Gotcha.
Because it's like, oh, I can't see, but it would probably quicker to pick up the sun because the sun has a higher contrast.
Yeah. Okay.
Versus if you had a zone system, you could just quickly zone, say, okay, they're roughly.
It's about 10 feet away or whatever.
So I just do that zone and I don't have to worry if the sun's in focus, whatever, or it's going to lock onto the sun. I already know that I set it to focus on the people. So when I get my shot, when I say the people look very crisp, I might get a good depth of field depending on the lens that I'm using. If it's like a 35 versus a 50 millimeter, I could get good depth of field, bokeh, if it's a wide aperture versus a smaller aperture, you know?
Got you.
So those are the things why I'm interested in Leica. It's not necessarily, oh, I just want a street camera that looks like a Leica. I want it for the mechanics of it. I'm curious about the mechanics of using a Leica. And as I said, for me, I'm not going to go into digital. I'm probably going to start with a film camera because I do miss film. And I think I want to start off that. And then if I happen to make enough money where I can say, hey, I have a film Leica, I can buy a digital one, I'll buy a digital one, you know? I think I saw one of these channels I follow on YouTube, and the guy is like saying, yeah, it might be good to have both, you know? And what you could do, if you end up getting both, you could have your film camera only shoot black and white, and your digital does the color. So then, you know, you have the best of both worlds, because it's still a Leica, you know, but... So I was like, yeah, when I make enough money. Or, you know, as I say, who knows, you know, maybe you might say, you know what, I can lose some camera gear and sell it for this, then I can use that camera gear to buy this, you know. Yeah. But I guess my uncle gave me that, you know, Rolleiflex on that Nikon F with, like, I have like 7 to 8 lenses for the Nikon. And I was like, I know I could get a good change for all those cameras, you know, like the Rolleiflex is like over probably $3,000 for that, probably maybe $2,000, whatever. But the Nikon, with those lenses I have a fisheye lens and super wide lens. And, you know, I could get a nice pocket of money if I wanted to sell that, but I want to keep it like a family heirloom or some sort. Like, I don't have any kids, but maybe my nephews might pick up photography. Who knows? I'm like, hey, pass it on to you. Like, my uncle passed it to me, I'm gonna give it to you. You know, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. I googled
what
the same thing. It says Fujifilm has cameras that are rangefinder style.
See, it's not rangefinder, it's a style. And that's what I want. I want a rangefinder. I don't want style.
Traditional rangefinders in the way that like a M or a Contax G2R.
So that was my thing. I think that was the thing when I saw Fuji. Like, people are like, hey, but the Fuji car is cheaper and it looks like it. I was like, yeah, it looks like it, but does the same operation. Yeah. And that's what I want, the operation. I'm not buying.
I guess they get the basic feel and it works about the same, but it's not.
But as I was saying, to me, I want. It's kind of, that's why it's a want for a need, right? I want that, right? Yeah. And I think I might not live here forever, and you know, I do think that as traveling getting more stricter with how much gear we can carry and the weight and everything like that, I think I want to get something that could be like an everyday camera that you can just, you know, sling over and put in a small bag, you know? Yeah. You don't have to be walking how much lens and thing, you know, or big lenses, you know, because.
Yeah, that's me with my R8. Like, I have this small lens.
Yeah.
But it has the capacity to change to a bigger lens, but I don't feel too inclined to change to a bigger lens. I like just, like literally, when I have it, or Jabari has it now, but when I have it, it's always in my bag, like always. And then sometimes I forget to charge it and then I pull it out. And I go to take a picture and it's like, ooh, we only have 1 bar. Let's get this done quickly.
Well, things like that would make it even more. To me, then you would have to be thinking, oh, I have 1 bar. Then I look at the picture or the frame, I'm going to take it like, but is it worth it? Yeah. Because then you have to think to yourself, this could be the one shot I get. And then after it goes kaput, right? Is it worth it? I take this shot, or let me save this 1 bar for when I see a shot like, yeah, I can't miss a shot. And to me, that's equivalent of like when you have film and you know you have a limited amount of frames, you can't just willy-nilly go pop, 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 and like, shit, I want my frame, you know, and then you have to be like, ooh, is this? No. And that's me when I take pictures, when I used to work on jobs. I think people used to think I was a weird photographer because I'm always hunting. Like the people who see me in jobs, I'm just like, why do you have to look so intense? I'm like, because I'm looking for the shot.
That's why I didn't get around this, because you look intense.
I'm just like,
I don't think it's a walk. I think this man looks intense. Let me not.
You know, funny enough, there's a true story that happened. I was walking one day and a guy was walking on the same side as me, right? And I was walking towards him. He literally went over the other road and he said to me, hey boy, you look like a Mark 10, like you ready to plow through something, and I don't want to get hit.
Is that serious?
Yeah, so I don't want to get hit, boy.
You need to randomly see him walk.
Okay.
He's on a mission.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I definitely have that face. I'm locked in and I'm just like, I don't care.
Because it was on a random part. It wasn't even like in town. It was like, where was it?
It's like, people don't walk here. Where are you? Where is there to walk?
It was near the avenue.
Yeah.
by the complex, I think near Jean Bear.
Okay.
And I was in the car and I was like, is that Marlon? And I just saw the walk, I was like, yeah, that's Marlon. Why is he walking so fast?
I have this internal competitiveness with me. You know, it's like even like there are times like I could tell all the crazy stories at Trinidad, but like
Yeah, we would love to know the crazy
ways,
stories of
way
being a
boy.
photographer that traveled. Also, how was it like traveling for you, I guess? Because I assume you've been flown on for a shoot before.
I have
Right.
once or
How
twice.
was it like experiencing that? Because I would like to be flown on for a shoot, but it was like, this is very sketchy until you'll get on the plane and you're like, oh, maybe
This is again.
this is cool, this is fine. Yes, mommy, I am safe. They call my name at the airline.
I don't know. It's a gamble, it's a risk that you know.
Yeah, you
But
land
it's like
there,
an out of body experience where you're like, you never really know because in
you
my
land
head,
there,
I'm
somebody
like,
holding a sign, and it's
I
like,
can't believe it until I see, like I hand them my ID at the airport and they're like, yeah, Mr. David, cool. Then I'll be like, oh, this is like actually happening.
Yeah, I think it was the closest I have to that is when I went to Senegal in 2019. After going to the airport and then getting the visa and everything like that, because as a Jamaican, I don't know about Trinidad, but as a Jamaican, you have like a 3 month or 3 months or 6 months kind of visa that you can get, right?
Okay.
Anyway, so when you get to the airport, you just pay a small fee or you don't have to pay a fee and they just stamp your passport or whatever. Anyway, when I came through all of that, I didn't know who was picking me up or whatever. So to come out and then see somebody have like
That's
Monsieur James, I was like, that's me.
I think me.
I didn't know I had my stroller, my camera bag and thing. I was like, hey, you know, and I was like, wow. I was like, this is interesting and weird, but I didn't know what to expect. And I was just more like excited, like, hey, I'm in Africa and I'm going to see Dakar. And it was just, as we're driving down from the airport to where we're staying in Dakar, I was just more like, wow. I was just more like a kid in a new store, like, I don't know anything here. And this is interesting, just the difference of where I'm coming from in Jamaica, Trinidad, and then I had my camera, so my little camera phone, so I'm just like, I'm just taking pictures of everything, you know? So it was just, I just love going to new spaces. I think maybe because my mom traveled a lot and she still does to this day, I kind of like have that part of her personality there. I want to see the rest of the world. So I'm very much eager to get any opportunity to go anywhere. And the minute I go there, good or bad, I'm just like, I'm gonna make the best of it, you know? So even when I went to Dakar, it wasn't sure what I was gonna do per se. They didn't have lighting gear that we have here in Trinidad. And like, but to me, it didn't matter. I was like, oh, I can think of my tools. I know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, I used what they had. Literally, one of the lights I got was something like this lantern that you have.
Yeah.
I said, all right, cool. I can use that to use as fill light. And I brought it to whatever location and I used it to my ability. And it's like, yeah, because my whole point is I am a trained photographer, and my job is that I need to think on my feet. And not every time you're going anywhere, you're gonna have everything that you need. So your camera is your main tool, and it has certain, you know, parameters that it can do, right? Most of it, we don't need any external light. So, you know, before we started to use flash and all these things, how did it just expose, right? It's all about balancing, finding that, you know, the perfect balance between shadows and light. And it's when you're printing or when you're developing is how you can now make it work for you if you want more contrast or less contrast. And so yeah, that's why I took it as, you know. I just thought, all right, we're going back to the basics. We don't have all the flash and the strobes and this and that. So how do we make it work for us? And then you have magazines that, you know, come out of America, even in certain parts of Europe where they thrive on that. They love that. They want things to be kind of raw energy, because when people use too many external flashes, it gets too polished because everybody's trying to sculpt this kind of like very avant-garde style of shoot and whatever. So then it becomes more theatric versus being genuine. You know, it's like, oh, this is not real. This is all stage, and you know. So I think even with me, my new direction as a photographer, as an artist, I want to create these narrative photographs. I literally wanted to stage photographs that look like candid shots. So that's where I see myself moving forward in photography. I don't want to only do portraits. I want to do portraits in a scene, but the scene is also has a story that I want to tell. What the viewer might take from the story, I can't say for sure, but I hope that my narrative is seen by the viewer.
I got it.
What?
I said I get that.
What is your favorite photo that you've taken so far?
Why you have to ask me a difficult question, my youth?
Let me make it easier for you. You died today.
I died today?
You died today.
Sorry, baby.
Tomorrow.
I miss you. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's
Joking. Yeah.
somebody
Tomorrow.
looks up Marlon James randomly. What is the one picture you hope they see first?
Oh wow. That's a difficult question because there are certain images that I love.
You have one.
I know. Mark, like I not hearing what I'm saying now. You have one. All right. If I were to choose one image that I hope somebody would. Shut up. Oh, I love that one too. One.
Maybe three? Does three help?
3 is better, but I mean, if it was literally one, I think one of my favorite images that I have is on my website called Metamorphosis. That is definitely one. The photograph I captured of Yellowman, the portrait of King Yellowman, that is another image that I adore. And what's another photograph that I think is... I love Genesis as well.
Genesis.
Genesis again is in on my website. It's a portrait. Well, not portrait. It's a nude study of a woman who looks like they're almost like crawling or so.
Which one? What is it called?
It's called Genesis. It's in figure.
Okay.
That is so hard to find.
Genesis.
There she go.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I can't find the site right now.
PlainMstudio.com.
Jeez.
Plug in, people. Go to PlainMstudio.com. See all the Marlon James stuff, especially things you can't see on Instagram. All the nudity and things like that. You see me? No, but that's figure. Genesis is past. What is that? 5th or 6th?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
No, not 6th. There are more though. There we go.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
King Yellowman.
King Yellowman is
Yellowman.
in Yellowman. That one. Yep. Yeah. And which
Tell
other?
us who Yellowman is, because
Yeah.
Who's Yellowman?
Yeah, you spoke about him, but I
Oh.
genuinely have no idea.
All right. I'm from a generation before you. All right. King Yellowman is a dancehall legend from Jamaica.
Like, I know the Buju picture.
Oh yes. Yeah.
That one, I was like, wow.
Yeah. You know the story behind that picture too, right?
Nope. I don't.
I mean, if
I don't know why I keep thinking about this. You talking,
Yes, I
explaining the picture, but I can't remember
Designer
exactly what it
Island.
was.
If you go to Designer
Right.
Island, they have the audio version of why, what it all meant to me. But King Yellowman, yeah, he is what is considered to be a dudus in Jamaica because he's albino,
Right.
and he also has he had a stroke.
Okay.
So his face, he
Got
had
you.
right augmentation with the face, kind of have like the mouth or face kind of slightly twist. So
He is strong though, like.
oh yeah, he went. He
is ripped.
Oh yeah, he was that time I photographed him. If you read my little synopsis storyline before you see the pictures,
Yeah.
I talk about like when I went to photograph him, he literally had in his mind that he had like 3 to 4 outfit changes he wanted to do. Right?
Yeah.
He'd been working out, so he wanted to show something that was like more army fatigue fit.
Yeah.
He had his music track outfit where it was like a white tracksuit with his
Oh yeah, with the Adidas shoes and.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was a Kobe Bryant fan, so he wanted to show the basketball element, you
Right.
know, because this was for a South African magazine that I was doing a shoot for, right?
Okay.
It was literally at first going to be for what's the name of that magazine? It's a big name magazine. Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting it? Rolling Stone, right? So it was for Rolling Stone I was actually shooting for, right?
Right.
So I shot this for Rolling Stone, but after we did the shoot and everything like that, the story didn't get picked up by Rolling Stone. So it ended up like picked up by a South African magazine. And then it got picked up by an American, I think it's Miami based, called Stranger, no. Stranger. It's on my website. Forgive me, I forgot the name of the actual magazine, but they printed more of my Yellow Man images and so forth. So yeah, it's interesting how I took that picture back in 2013, and I really didn't get paid for it back until like 2019, 2020 or so.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And how do you pronounce this? Zunga
Zunga the Zunga Zeng. That's one of his songs.
Oh, I was like, I don't know.
Zunga the Zunga Zeng.
I can't find this thing of you
What?
on Designer Island.
Oh, designer.
To me, it should be up here, eh?
It should be where I don't know if Tanya reinstalled the thing. It was a picture of Buju Banton. Like I did that picture of how you have to eat. So it probably is go. It's old.
Well, I just went to what I assumed to be the bottom of the page, and this was all not loaded. So.
Oh,
It says way back, so I guess maybe they did do a...
Yeah, probably archive and what have you.
Okay, got you.
Because if you, as I said, yeah, I think she was doing something where she was kind of showcasing some of the people the photographers that were behind Designer Island. So it wasn't only me, Olajuwon, yeah, he's one of the photographers. Myself, there's another gentleman, his name's slipping me right now, old age people. He does a lot of scenery of the water. He had an exhibition at 101 Salon Gallery. Oh, what is his name?
JB?
No, not JB.
I don't know. I just call it a random name.
Oh, okay. I thought that you
Oh, you're talking about Brendan.
Brendan, right?
Brendan or Brandon?
Brendan. I think it's Brendon. Yeah, he was one of the photographers. Look, maybe it's on our website, or I don't know. So
Brendan Delzin?
Yes.
Yeah, you said you water.
Yeah. So those are just some of the people that that we did a little voiceover from one of our favorite images and so forth, and why we consider it to be photo. That Buju Banton shot was one of my favorites at the time. I think also why that was a favorite. I know one of the reasons why it was a favorite because it was literally one shot.
Yeah.
The room, imagine that this entire room was pitch black, no house lights on, and he was just sitting on the couch, and I had to basically use, at the time it was a Canon Mark II. I had that, and I had my camera off the flash, right? And he was sitting in there, and there's a little bit of fill light coming in so I could grab focus, right? So I could get the side of his ear, so I could get, all right, this is roughly, again, this is how I zone focus. I look for where something is closer to where the area I want, and I focus on that. Knowing that it's not the actual area, but I knew that just the distance. So I did that, and then I just held the flash where I thought it should be, and I took the shot. Well...
Oh, you use format as well. Sorry, I just...
Oh, right.
Not going to...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so when I took the shot, and I was going for the second time, he was like, yo, can we not use the flash? Because the room was so dark that the pop of the flash became like eyes dilate and everything like that. So it was kind of too blinding for him. So I got 2 shots, and then I couldn't take any more of him, right? So the first shot was the shot, and I was just going for a second one, just as a safety, just in case I missed on the first one, because I couldn't really check to say, did I get it? Was it perfect? I was like, okay, one more shot just to make sure. And I took the second one. He's like, yo, that's it. My eyes are dilated because of the flash and blah, blah, blah. And I was just very happy that the first one came out exactly the way I wanted.
Yeah.
So it was kind of more like, okay, you are the photographer. You have one shot, one frame. This is it. And you made that shot work for you, because if I couldn't get any other photograph of him, because the client wanted like a behind the scenes portrait of him before he went on stage and everything like that. So I was just trying to do what a client was requiring of me.
Yeah.
And he's the celebrity, the artist, and he's like, yeah, this wasn't working for him, because for him backstage, he prefer that I would take the images in the ambient light that it was, but it was a Canon, it wasn't like a Sony, so it was very hard to shoot in dark light, very hard to focus, So yeah, it was it was probably the only good shot I took for the night inside of the backstage in the hotel room and everything like that.
Yeah.
Once we went to the venue, I got other backstage shots, but that was the one that was like, yeah, this is the only one you get when you just like finished prepared and things like, yo, already you can get one shot and then we do whatever. So yeah, I definitely think probably that Bougie Band was definitely up there with Yellowman and thing, you know, but yeah, those are my favorite shots I can think of. Top 3 if I have.
Do you have any, I don't know, little stories you want to share that you probably might not have spoken about? It doesn't have to be like what we spoke about off camera.
Oh, okay.
It could be
Okay.
something a little bit more
I
natural.
was like, what? Do you want me to talk about something for photography again? I really don't know. I mean, I feel weird like when people just say, you want to talk about anything? I was like, I know so much. I'm like almost 50, not too far from it. So I've done a lot, I've experienced a lot. So I don't know what exactly, if it's within the photography field, if there's something specific you're curious about, if it's something like personal life, like what kind of arbitrary question from a social life you want to know?
What's the most random or unexpected location you ever ended up in? I guess no.
To shoot?
It could be to shoot, yeah. You could also just be in general. I don't know if you're a big partier.
Partier, like go to venues for parties.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of that in Jamaica as well as when I came into Trinidad, I did a few events that I photographed, but none of them were bizarre in a sense like this is odd. If the one thing that wasn't really that odd. No, I don't think I've really had anything that, to me, I consider to be totally like a bizarre spot to shoot. I mean, every location to me was just like, ooh, this is cool, this is new, this is different. You know, how can I make this, work for me? And I think most photographers, especially in this day and age where I think people pride themselves on finding new locations where no one's photographing for. I love doing that too. I like finding that space like, you know what? I'm going to photograph right here. Everybody walks past here, but they never thought of using this as a location. I'm going to shoot right here.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing that. So if I think that I had any odd places to photograph, like I remember the first time I did a shoot in Trinidad, one of the spaces I photographed was right on Tragreet Road by Cheyenne's. That's the name of the roti shop on the corner of Tragreet and...
Cheyenne, it sounds very familiar.
Yeah, Cheyenne's, S-H-I...
Oh, yes, Cheyenne's.
I did a whole shoot...
It's Tragreet and...
Because it was...
Oh my gosh, it's the bank.
Yeah, it's
I went to school on that road. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so is it Maraval Road or something? No, that's not Maraval Road.
Road is a different road.
No, it's not Maraval Road. I know it's in it, but that road. So I did a whole shoot on
Woodford Street.
Woodford
Yes, that
Street,
one.
right. So yeah, I did a whole shoot on that corner, right, on that street. Went all the way up to where Boozos is, came back down, did stuff on the corner by Shan before they did the makeover, did stuff across the road where they have a... So I literally used that entire little location and just moved up and down, photographing things, using the wall as the background basically because I was like, okay, it was shooting stuff for Benny Carib.
Yeah.
And it was just like, all right, let's use this whole road area of Woodbrook. And we just walked up or drived up a road and like, ooh, look at this color. It nice compliments, I remember photographing a young lady in a yellow jumpsuit. And then the background of the wall was kind of like a turquoise color. I think these are my fashion shots. And then she had this green, holding a bunch of green bananas in her hand. That was a caravan element about her against this random wall. But that was at the top of Woodford Street by this, I think a pet shop. That was the backdrop of the wall, and then I just saw the contrast of the complementary colors were very nice. See there?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
How you find that so fast?
Just scroll down.
Sorry, my mouse
You
is
said
not...
fashion and then I just scroll down.
Well, I also click fashion and then...
Literally, just scroll down to see if I could find
And I told you, Benny Kareem.
I look for bananas, being honest. That's what...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
One of my favorite shots was that shot you're looking at there from Shoma. I think I got to do like
This lady's
close
face
to...
looks familiar.
Huh?
This lady looks familiar. I don't know who she is though.
Okay, well, she's not from Trinidad. She's from Panama.
Oh, well then I've not seen that one before.
Yeah, but that was one of my favorite shoots, shooting for Shoma. I think that I got to do a real like fashion editor when I went to Tobago. And that particular one that you were looking at where the women were on the bow of the boat, that was shot by the nylon pool.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
to
can see
be able
that.
to do that, you know, out in the open and just get that front section, have them sit and stand, I felt like, this was, I pulled out all stops and I was like, I finally got to do a fashion editor where I could create these kind of very interesting things that come from the Caribbean. Even with the shoot with Feel Cup company.
Oh.
That was at
I
someone's
thought his
house.
name was Phil. I was like,
Oh no. The brand was Feel.
That's my favorite photo of yours.
So I did that in someone's yard.
oh, y'all just asked, hey,
It was somebody's house, like somebody's grandmother's house. We just shot in the yard of the house.
Oh, okay.
And that was just the yard, and that was the house behind in the yard. So I just saw that opening and like, oh, that color looks nice, and boom, you know. This one here for what is this one? Kalos.
Oh, okay.
That was again in somebody's apartment complex. I did that shoot. That was in a park, a driveway.
oh,
Literally, I just put orange lights on a flash, and I had her standing amongst a little grass field, and then I just told somebody to stand off with the orange
okay.
gel flash, and boop. This was a house under construction
Yeah, so
in
this
Diego
couple,
Martin, and that was for mailing. You know, I just loved any odd space. You know, this house was totally under construction, as you could see elements, and you know.
You're
this wa-
the person who was constructing the house, or y'all just asked for a favor to?
Oh no, the stylist, her husband is an architect, so
Okay.
he was working on the house. That's why we got access to this, and this was by the Magnificent Seven, Millefleur.
Okay.
That's why I did this, the first Shoma shoot that I did, you know, and that actually got featured in Vogue magazine in Spain or Mexico, right? Yeah.
So I'm looking for a picture that I know that you took. I shall not show it to you.
Which one is
It
it?
was for mailing. It was one of these.
Oh, I
But
revamped my
It's
website
one
recently.
that had, I think, the like inner door,
Uh-huh.
and you could see like the mountain in the background or something like that.
Oh, I know which shot you're talking
And I
about.
was like,
Yeah, it was. I
like,
took that
okay.
down. I took that. I think I was just revamping the website the other day, so I took that particular one down. It wasn't on my website. It was.
because I not seen it before, but I can remember.
Yeah, I
it.
think it might be on in my Instagram.
But I know this like building.
Yeah.
So,
Way too fast.
you have any hot takes?
What? Sorry.
You have any hot takes?
Hot takes.
Yeah.
Hot takes. What do you mean by hot takes? I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
wrap
What
it
I
up
mean.
there. Hot
Ah,
takes
check
as
this.
in
No, I don't have it. But I know,
potentially controversial thing to say.
oh, so something like this you're talking about, not this particular one, but
Yeah, but it's not this one.
yeah, I know
It's-
which other one you're talking about. I have it.
But I don't know. It feels like it's from this doorway
It-
looking out.
It's not from here. It was one of the floors, and basically it was a window way.
Yeah.
And she was in a red chair, and that was the background. I could see over to Pitty Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably mailing have it on our website as an old catalog shot that I did, but I don't know if it's there still because that was shot just during COVID, like 2019 time or whatever.
while ago.
So it was a while back. So yeah, but still one of my favorite shoots I did for mailing. I think she enjoyed that particular shoot too.
Yeah.
But any hot takes that
Hot takes. Potentially controversial.
And I'll answer any controversies, of course.
You're not gonna explain it. You're just gonna be like, "This is what it is. This is what I think,
Take
and
it.
we're gonna end it." Let me just make sure that.
I wish I could have examples, because to me, I feel like one of the things that I say in my head is I keep on thinking about opinions that would have you like this, where you have like a knife at your neck, like
Yeah, you're like, "Ooh, you sure about
one of my hot takes that my partner doesn't like me saying, but it's something I heard from a YouTube channel, and I try to take it to heart. No one cares about your photographs. Hot take. No one cares. Keep that in mind, and you don't have to worry about the likes. Just do what you enjoy for yourself. Once you enjoy it, forget the rest of the noise, because that's just added, you know. Be happy that you have 10 people or 5 people that like your image as well as you, versus trying to get that 1,000 or 20,000 likes or whatever. I think because of social media, we're kind of conditioned now about likes, and likes means that you're good. Right? I remember, for example, I would post a picture in the early days of when I had my Instagram as Modern Day Caveman. Many people might know me as that.
Yeah.
I had a picture that I would post, and then it would probably get 50 likes. Then I post a picture of myself, get 300 likes. I'm like, wait, where were all these people for the other picture? And like, to me, I felt that photograph was saying a lot more than this random photograph of me just kind of smiling like, it's like, but people loved it. Oh, I love your smile. Da, 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 da. I'm like, and then I realized, okay, as much as you're showcasing your work, it doesn't mean that people are going to like the images that you put because, oh yeah, you're a great photographer, you're a nice photographer, good photographs, but they don't have to like it. They could like it just for pandering's sake, of like, oh, it's Marlon, so I like it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the reason why I started my Night Monkey project after a while, because I kept on thinking, like, were people liking my images because they knew it was me who took it, or were they liking the image because it was a really good image? Yeah. You know, so then I started to do this whole Night Monkey thing where I'd work with people, but I didn't want them to tell who the photographer was. Just post the photograph as Night Monkey. Whoever Night Monkey is, it don't matter. It's just like, these are images created by nothing. It could be a whole organization. So it could be me, you, Jabari, and Jabari. We do our shoot, and this Night Monkey ticket. It's not you, Jabari, or you, Jabari, or me. We are just Night Monkey because we all collaborate in making the shot become one, right? So it's not about the final person who clicked the button, right? And if it would still get that recognition, or would it just go flat and dead in social media because, oh, it's not attached by this kind of well-known person, you know? So yeah, my hot take is basically that no one cares about your photographs. If you like it, that's all that matters. Forget everybody else. And another one too is that all cameras are dumb boxes. I don't care if you have a Sony, I don't care if you have a Fuji, they all do the same thing. You just have to know how to operate your camera. If you put nonsense in the camera, you're gonna get back nonsense. If you put in good information, you get good shots. It kind of is like when I was a kid playing basketball. Just because you have on Kobe's or Michael Jordan doesn't mean you can play like them. You just have a shoe that they created or they designed. So same thing camera. I think, yes, they have limitations of what they can do, but it doesn't mean that because you have a Sony that I can't take a low light. I can. It's just that there's a disadvantage when I take a low light with my Canon versus with your Sony because of the technology, but it still can be done, right? You just have to know the limitations of your device. Yeah. So those are my two hot takes. Cameras are dumb box and no one cares about your photos. Hate me if you want.
Thank you for that. Well, then Marlon James, everybody.
Give thanks.
We'll link all of this stuff down below.
All right, cool.
Or wherever.
Yeah, wherever it's from.
Wherever it's from, yeah.
Thanks for having me. I've never really done this whole podcast thing. So it's my first podcast, you know. As we say in Jamaica, you pop my cherry. Pause.
Well, with that, we'll see you all next week.
We're still filming this. I thought we're done.
No, we're done.
Edit that out.
I'm Jabari.
And Jabari.
I'm Marlon James, and I give you jokes.